One show made millions of Americans remember exactly what it felt like to grow up, and then time changed everything. The Wonder Years gave us Kevin, Winnie, first love, heartbreak, and childhood memories that still hurt a little. Now, we revisit the cast who turned ordinary life into something unforgettable. The stars we lost, the lives behind the fame, and the characters that still feel like people we once knew. Kevin's father was a tired, hard-working man who usually kept his emotions buried under a stern face and a quiet dinner table. Strict, stubborn, and deeply old school, he felt like a real dad from that era. Not always easy to talk to, but always carrying the weight of the family. The role was played by Lauria at the age of 40. Currently 79, he still has that old-school working man presence that made the character feel so believable. After the show, he continued acting across television, film, and stage, often playing fathers, coaches, military men, and authority figures with that same tough but human edge. Kevin's dad was not warm in a simple sitcom way, and that is why he stayed with people. He could be distant, cranky, or hard to read, but there was love under all that silence. For a lot of viewers, he felt less like a TV father and more like someone they actually knew. Kevin's mother was the warm center of the Arnold home, quietly holding everyone together through dinners, arguments, school stress, and all those small growing-up moments. Gentle, patient, and stronger than the family always noticed, Norma Arnold gave the house its emotional safety. Allie Mills was 36 when she first brought her to life. Today, at 75, she is still remembered for that soft, comforting presence, but her career later showed much more range. She became familiar to daytime TV viewers through The Bold and the Beautiful and General Hospital, where she played roles with more drama, bite, and emotional edge. Norma felt like home in the middle of Kevin's messy childhood. Jack carried the silence, the kids carried the noise, but she gave the family its warmth. She was not flashy, and that was the point. She felt like the kind of mom people remember from real life, not just television. Kevin's older brother was loud, annoying, and exactly the kind of sibling who knew how to ruin your day with one word: butthead. Wayne Arnold was not just the house bully. He was the messy, insecure big brother who made childhood feel painfully real. Jason Hervey was 15 when he started playing him. Currently 54, he has mostly built his later career behind the camera instead of chasing the same child star spotlight. He moved into producing, business, and reality television work, showing that his life after acting took a very different path from the awkward teenage cruelty people remember from Wayne. Wayne was irritating, but that was the magic. Every family had someone who teased too much, picked fights, and still somehow felt like part of the emotional fabric of home. He could be mean, ridiculous, and weirdly vulnerable, which made him much more than just Kevin's bully. Kevin's best friend was the smart, nervous kid with big glasses, careful opinions, and the kind of loyalty that made childhood feel safer. Paul Pfeiffer was always there for school problems, crush confusion, awkward talks, and those tiny dramas that felt huge when you were 11. Josh Saviano was 11 when he first played him. Today at 50, he has one of the most interesting post-show lives from the cast. Instead of staying in Hollywood, he became a lawyer and later moved into business and advisory work. And yes, he also spent years being part of that funny internet rumor that he grew up to become Marilyn Manson, which he has taken with good humor. Paul felt like the friend everyone either had or wanted. He was careful, smart, sometimes anxious, and usually more sensible than Kevin, even when Kevin did not want to hear it. Their friendship gave the show that soft childhood truth. Growing up is confusing, but it is easier when someone is confused with you. Kevin's adult voice was the memory of the whole show. Warm, funny, and a little sad. Like someone looking back at childhood and finally understanding what it all meant. The narrator turned ordinary school days, first crushes, family fights, and small embarrassments into something bigger. Daniel Stern was 30 when he became that voice. These days, at 69, he is still loved for a career full of comedy, voice work, and offbeat charm. Many viewers know him from Home Alone and City Slickers, but his narration here gave him a different kind of place in TV history. Not always seen, but constantly felt. The narrator made the series feel personal. Without that older voice looking back, Kevin's childhood might have been just another coming-of-age story. Instead, every little moment came with memory, regret, humor, and the ache of realizing how fast ordinary days disappear. Kevin's older sister was the free spirit of the Arnold family, political, restless, and always pushing against the quiet suburban rules around her. Kevin Arnold brought the late 60s counterculture right into the living room, with all the arguments, idealism, and teenage rebellion that came with it. Olivia was 19 when she first played her. Currently 57, she has kept a steady career across acting, voice work, music, and writing. After the show, she appeared in film and television projects, and many animation fans also know her voice from Justice League as Star Sapphire and from other animated roles. Karen made the Arnold house feel connected to the bigger world outside Kevin's childhood. She was not just the rebellious sister, she carried the era's changes into the family. Through her, the show could touch politics, feminism, war, freedom, and the pain of growing up faster than your parents expected. Kevin's school friend Doug Porter was the big, lovable kid in the group. Funny, awkward, and always part of that middle school crowd where everything felt embarrassing. He gave Kevin's world another familiar face, the kind of friend who made the classroom and lunch table feel real. Brandon Crane was 11 when he started playing him. Today, at 50, he has lived a much quieter adult life than many former child actors. After his early screen work, including It and The Wonder Years, he moved away from regular acting for a long time, and later built a career outside Hollywood, including work in technology and creative projects. Doug added that everyday kid energy the show needed. Not every childhood friend is dramatic or life-changing. Some are just there, laughing, reacting, and making the group feel complete. That was Doug's charm. He felt like someone pulled straight out of an old-school photo. Kevin's first great crush was Winnie Cooper. Sweet, thoughtful, and wrapped in the kind of childhood magic that only makes sense when you look back years later. She was the girl next door, but not in a simple way. She carried innocence, sadness, and growing up confusion all at once. Danica McKellar was 13 when she first played her. These days, at 51, she has built a life that moved far beyond being America's childhood crush. She became known for math education books, family-friendly films, and television work, showing a completely different side from the soft nostalgia people still attached to Winnie. Winnie was never just the girl Kevin liked. She became part of how viewers remembered first love itself, confusing, beautiful, painful, and never as clean as memory wants it to be. Every look between Kevin and Winnie carried that feeling of being young and not knowing how much a moment would matter later. Jeff Billings came in with that quiet, slightly awkward kid energy that fit perfectly into the school years. He was not the loudest boy in the group, but he helped make Kevin's world feel bigger than just Paul, Winnie, and the Arnold house. Giovanni Ribisi was 13 when he played him. Currently 52, he has become one of those actors who can disappear into very different kinds of roles. After his early TV years, his career moved into Friends, Saving Private Ryan, Avatar, Ted, and many film and television projects where he often played nervous, strange, or emotionally offbeat characters. Seeing him here feels like catching a future character actor before everyone knew what he could do. Jeff was a small part of Kevin's school life, but Giovanni Ribisi later turned that quiet, unusual screen energy into a long career full of memorable oddballs and scene stealers. Cutlip was the tough, loud gym teacher who made school feel sweaty, awkward, and a little terrifying. He was the adult in shorts with a whistle, barking instructions while kids like Kevin tried to survive PE without looking completely hopeless. Robert Picardo was 34 when he first played him. Today, at 73, he is familiar to several generations of TV fans. Many people know him as the Doctor from Star Trek Voyager, while others remember him from China Beach, Stargate Atlantis, and a long list of genre and comedy roles where his sharp timing always stood out. Cutlip brought back a very specific school memory. Almost everyone had a teacher or coach who made gym class feel like a battlefield. He was funny because he was exaggerated, but not by much, just enough to make viewers remember the whistle, the pressure, and the horror of being picked last. Mr. Cantwell was the dry, painfully boring teacher who could drain the energy out of a classroom in seconds. His flat delivery made even simple lessons feel endless, which was exactly why he was funny. Ben Stein was 43 when he played him. These days, at 82, he remains instantly recognizable for that slow, deadpan voice. Beyond acting, he became known as a writer, commentator, game show host, and public personality. with Ferris Bueller's Day Off still giving him one of the most quoted teacher moments in pop culture. Mr. Cantwell worked because every student knew that feeling. Sitting in class, staring at the clock, listening to a teacher speak like time had stopped, that was painfully real. He turned boredom into a joke, and somehow made being dull completely memorable. Mr. DePerna was one of those school adults who made Kevin's world feel more real. Not a cartoon teacher, not a big dramatic figure, just a familiar presence in the hallways and classrooms. He carried that slightly worn, everyday educator energy that fit perfectly with the show's memory of childhood style. Ray Burke brought him to the screen at age 44. Currently 83, he has had a long career as a reliable character actor across television, film, and stage. Viewers may recognize him from Cheers, the Naked Gun films, and many guest roles where he often played officials, teachers, doctors, and men who felt instantly believable in a scene. Mr. DePerna helped build the school around Kevin, not just as a place for lessons, but as a whole little world of adults, rules, awkward moments, and growing up pressure. Characters like him made the classroom scenes feel less staged and more like someone's actual memory. Miss White was the young teacher who made school feel a little warmer, a little more personal, and sometimes a lot more confusing for Kevin. She had that gentle, encouraging presence that students remember years later, especially when they are just beginning to notice adults as real people. Wendell Meldrum first played her at age 33. Wendell Meldrum passed away in 2021 at the age of 66 after a battle with cancer. Her death came far too early. Away from this role, she also appeared in Seinfeld, Less Than Perfect, and other television projects, often bringing a quirky, soft, slightly offbeat charm to her characters. Miss White stayed in the memory because she felt like one of those teachers who mattered without trying too hard. She was kind, attractive, and just mysterious enough through Kevin's young eyes. The show used her perfectly, as part teacher, part childhood crush, and part reminder that growing up makes ordinary people feel huge. Kirk McRae was the older, cooler boy who suddenly made Kevin feel small in the way only a teenage rival can. He had that confident high school energy around Winnie, the kind that makes a younger kid realize the world is getting more complicated than bikes, school, and neighborhood games. Michael Landis stepped into the role at age 15. Today, at 54, he has kept a steady career across American and British television, film, and stage. He later appeared in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, Final Destination 2, Hooten and the Lady, and other projects where he moved easily between drama, adventure, and lighter roles. Kirk mattered because he brought that first sharp sting of jealousy into Kevin's childhood. He was not evil, not overplayed, just older and cooler at exactly the wrong time. That is what made him feel real. Everyone remembers someone who seemed to arrive out of nowhere and suddenly change the way a crush felt. Madeline was the pretty, confident girl who walked into Kevin's world and made his feelings even messier than they already were. She had that older teen charm that felt exciting, confusing, and a little dangerous when you were still trying to understand what love was supposed to mean. Julie Condra brought Madeline to the screen at age 17. Currently 56. She has lived a quieter public life than many viewers might expect from a former teen TV face. After her early work, she appeared in shows and films through the 90s, including The Wonder Years and Crying Freeman, before later stepping back from the spotlight. Madeline belongs to that part of childhood memory where a crush feels bigger than logic. She was not just another girl in the story, she represented temptation, curiosity, and the strange pull of growing up too fast. For Kevin, she made the simple idea of liking Winnie feel suddenly much more complicated. Michael was Karen's older boyfriend and later husband, calm, serious, and tied to her move away from the Arnold family's traditional world. He brought in that early adult, counterculture energy that made Karen's choices feel bigger than just teenage rebellion. David Schwimmer appeared as Michael at age 21. Today at 60, he is obviously best known to most viewers as Ross Geller from Friends. But seeing him here is fun because it catches him before that massive sitcom fame, in a quieter role that belonged to the show's family and growing up world rather than big punchlines and coffeehouse chaos. Michael helped show that Karen's story was not just a phase. Her life was moving in a different direction from her parents' expectations, and he became part of that shift. Through him, the show touched the awkward moment when a family realizes one of its kids is truly building a separate adult life. Mr. Collins was the strict math teacher who pushed Kevin harder than Kevin wanted to be pushed. He was serious, dry, and not the type to hand out easy praise, which made him intimidating at first, but also the kind of teacher students remember long after they leave the classroom. Stephen Gilborn first played him at age 51. Stephen Gilborn passed away in 2009 at the age of 72 after battling cancer. Away from this role, he appeared in many television shows, including Ellen, The Practice, Nipped Blue, and other familiar 90s series, often playing professors, doctors, and thoughtful authority figures. Mr. Collins left a mark because he believed Kevin could do better, even when Kevin did not see it yet. His story had one of the show's quietest emotional punches. No big speech, no cheap sentiment, just a teacher whose impact only became clear when it was too late to say thank you. Alice Pettermere was one of those awkward school-side characters who fit perfectly into Kevin's messy growing-up years. She brought that nervous, slightly odd kid energy that made the classroom feel less polished and more real, like someone you might actually remember from elementary school. Lindsay Sloane stepped into the role at age 10. Currently 49, she later built a steady career in comedy and television. Many viewers know her from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, The Odd Couple, Horrible Bosses, and a long run of sitcom and film roles where her timing leaned naturally toward funny, anxious, and slightly chaotic characters. Alice feels like one of those small childhood memories that somehow sticks. She was not a huge figure in Kevin's life, but shows like this worked because they understood that growing up is full of little faces, weird classmates, and tiny moments that feel bigger when you look back. Bonnie Douglas was part of Kevin's older teen world. Pretty, complicated, and tied to the emotional confusion that came with first love, jealousy, and growing up too quickly. She had that slightly more mature presence that made the younger characters feel like they were stepping into unfamiliar territory. Paula Marshall played Bonnie at age 23. Today, at 62, she has stayed busy across television for decades. Her career later moved through Gary Unmarried, Californication, Euphoria, Spin City, and many other shows, often playing sharp, funny, or emotionally complicated women who could change the tone of a scene quickly. Bonnie added to that feeling of adolescence getting more serious. Childhood crushes were one thing, but older relationships brought new rules, new mistakes, and feelings Kevin was not always ready to understand. She helped the show move from innocent memories into the messier side of growing up. Randy Mitchell was one of Kevin's school friends, part of that ordinary group of boys who made the neighborhood feel familiar. He had the casual, slightly goofy energy of a kid you might see at lunch, in class, or hanging around after school without realizing he would become part of your memory. Michael Tricario appeared as Randy at age 12. These days, at 51, he lives mostly away from the public spotlight. After his childhood acting years, his screen career stayed limited, and Randy remains the role most viewers connect with him when looking back at the series. Randy helped fill out Kevin's everyday world. Not every childhood friend becomes a major life story. Some are just part of the background of growing up. But that is what made the show feel honest. The lockers, the classrooms, the kids nearby, and all those small faces from years you never really forget. Chuck Coleman was one of Kevin's older school friends, the kind of guy who made adolescence feel louder, weirder, and a little more uncomfortable. He had that awkward teen energy where jokes, crushes, and insecurity all mixed together at once. Andy Berman played Chuck at age 19, currently 58. He later moved much more into writing, producing, and voice work than on-camera acting. Many animation fans know his voice from Invader Zim, and his behind-the-scenes career gave him a completely different creative path after his early television years. Chuck helped capture that strange middle stage between being a kid and trying to act older than you are. He was not smooth, and that was the point. He belonged to the messy friend group world where everyone is pretending to know what they are doing, even though nobody really does. Ricky Halsenbach was part of Kevin's school crowd, one of those boys who made the classroom and neighborhood feel properly filled out. He brought in that ordinary kid presence. Not too polished, not overly dramatic, just another familiar face from the strange little universe of growing up. Scott Nemes appeared as Ricky at age 13. These days, at 52, he has mostly lived away from the spotlight compared with many former child actors. After his early TV and film work, he stepped back from regular screen appearances, leaving Ricky as the role many viewers still recognize from those nostalgic school scenes. Ricky feels like someone pulled straight out of an old yearbook. He was not there to become a huge part of Kevin's life, but childhood memory does not only keep the big moments. Sometimes it keeps the classmates, the hallway faces, and the kids who were simply there while everything was changing. Becky Slater was the fierce little girl who liked Kevin, got hurt by Kevin, and then made sure he regretted it. She brought a sharp, funny, slightly chaotic energy into the schoolyard, especially because she could turn from sweet to furious in about 2 seconds. Crystal McKellar first played Becky at age 11. Today, at 50, she has taken a very different path from regular acting. After her childhood TV years, she went on to study law and build a career outside Hollywood, which makes her another cast member whose real life moved far beyond the schoolyard stories viewers remember. Becky was memorable because she felt exactly like childhood drama turned up just enough for TV. First crushes were messy, feelings got hurt fast, and revenge could feel very serious when you were 11. She gave Kevin's world a funny little sting that fans still remember. Mr. Chong was one of the adults who helped widen Kevin's world beyond the Arnold family and his usual school crowd. He brought in that familiar teacher and community feeling, the kind of presence that made the neighborhood seem larger than just Kevin's house, Winnie's house, and the classroom. Michael Paul Chan played Mr. Chong at age 37. Currently 76, he has built a long, steady career across television and film. Many viewers later knew him from The Closer and Major Crimes as Lieutenant Mike Tao, while his other work moved through dramas, crime shows, and guest roles, where he often brought calm intelligence and quiet authority. Mr. Chong was not a huge character, but he fit the show's memory style. Childhood is full of adults you only half understood at the time. Teachers, neighbors, parents of friends. And somehow they still stay in the background of your story years later. Wart was one of Kevin's school friends, part of that ordinary boyhood circle where nicknames, jokes, and awkward little moments mattered more than they probably should. He had that casual, familiar kid energy that made Kevin's school life feel properly crowded and believable. Scott Menville stepped into Wart at age 16. These days, at 55, he is much more recognizable by voice than by face for a lot of fans. His career later moved deeply into animation, especially as Robin in Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, along with voice roles in shows, games, and cartoons that reached a totally new generation. Wart is a small role, but that fits the show's whole charm. Not every childhood friend becomes a life-changing figure. Some are just there, in the hallway, at school, in the background of your memories, and somehow that makes the world feel more honest. Linda Sloane was one of those young schoolside characters who helped fill out Kevin's early coming-of-age world. She belonged to that age when classmates, crushes, and little social moments could feel enormous, even if adults would barely notice them. Maya Bruton appeared as Linda at age 10. Today, at 49, she has lived a much quieter life than many former child stars. Viewers may also remember her from Adventures in Babysitting and Parker Lewis Can't Lose, but she later moved away from regular acting and built a professional life outside the usual Hollywood spotlight. Linda feels like part of the show's childhood scrapbook. She may not be the first name people bring up, but roles like hers made Kevin's world feel full of faces, moods, and tiny memories. That is exactly how childhood works. Not everything is major, but a lot of it stays with you. Dolores was one of those teen characters who brought a little sharper, more unpredictable energy into Kevin's world. She had that early Juliette Lewis spark, a little offbeat, a little intense, and not quite like the other kids around her. Juliette Lewis appeared as Dolores at age 14. Currently 53, she has become one of the most distinctive actresses of her generation. Her career later moved into Cape Fear, Natural Born Killers, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Yellow Jackets, and Music, always carrying that raw, fearless quality that made her hard to ignore. Seeing her here feels like catching a flash of something before it fully exploded. Dolores was a small role, but Juliette already had that strange screen electricity. She did not feel like a typical TV kid, and that is exactly what made her future career make sense. Kevin Arnold was the boy at the center of the whole memory. Awkward, curious, selfish sometimes, sweet other times, and always trying to understand a world that kept changing faster than he could. He was the kid through whose eyes first love, family fights, school, friendship, and growing up all felt huge. Fred Savage first played Kevin at age 11. Today, at 50, he is still tied to one of television's most famous coming-of-age roles. After his childhood fame, he moved into directing and producing, working on many sitcoms and comedy projects, while also returning to acting from time to time. Kevin worked because he was not perfect. He could be jealous, clueless, funny, embarrassed, and painfully real. That is why the show still feels personal to so many people. It was not just about one boy growing up. It was about remembering how strange, beautiful, and uncomfortable childhood really was. The Wonder Years was never just about growing up. It was about the people, memories, and moments we never really leave behind. Which cast members' change surprised you the most? Comment below, subscribe, and keep watching for more unforgettable